Now, as we take this conversation of connectedness, let's also apply it over the top of that other conversation, which is important, of what kind of man do you want to be? Who do you want to show up as? Now, we all have this idea of the Zen master, the man who is imperturbable in the face of chaos and conflict and things not always going his way. And I'm sure you've noticed in life, things don't always go our way. Way too many times I've seen a man have something happen in his life, relationship, business, and it throws him off for days, weeks, months, to where he loses that time and he begins to spiral down, and maybe you've done the same thing in the past. You see, one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite authors, whose name, by the way, I love to bastardize and massacre, Chungam Trungpa, who wrote Shambhala, Way of the Warrior, had this amazing quote. He said, "The warrior is capable of standing there when somebody appears in front of him and says, 'I am going to murder you.' He can look at that person and say, 'Is that so?' Likewise, when someone stands in front of him and says, 'I'm going to give you $10 million, the warrior can stand back and say, 'Is that so?' And the warrior sits straight in his saddle and carries on. Now, as I tell you this story, I want you to also recognize that that is a potential, a capability, a skill that we all have inside of us. Oftentimes, we've never taken the time to really train ourselves or figure out what do we have to change within ourselves, our mindset, our being, our lifestyle, that can allow us to remain unbroken and unchallenged in the middle of chaos. And my biggest message to you is that when you have this sense of connectedness, calmness, centeredness inside of yourself, it allows you to respond differently to the chaos of the world around you. There's this concept in Taoism of stillness within motion, and equally motion within stillness. So let me give you a little experience of that. You see, some of these techniques are used in the modern military. Snipers are actually now often taught about flow states, how to access flow. And this is really the same conversation, right? When you imagine yourself being connected, not only are you calm and centered, but you're fluid. You're able to react like water to situations. So how do we access flow? Well, there's all kinds of ways, but let me give you a simple one. This is something that I learned from a man who trained with the Chiricahua Apache. And this is also a technique I've seen in some of the ninja schools in Japan. And basically, it's how to use your eyes and the way that you perceive with your vision to literally shift you into a more powerful state. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to notice that most of the time when you use your eyes, you look just in this little area right in front of you. When we learn to read in the West, that teaches us to have this almost tunnel vision most of the time. But I know you recognize this. There's all this other space in our vision that we often don't pay attention to. We use these hard, direct eye skills. So what I want to have you do is just relax your eyes. Let them go soften, maybe even unfocus a little bit. And as you do that, I want you to align your perception through your eyes in a way that you start to notice a wider field of vision. Maybe a little less detail in the front, but you see more to the sides, you see more up and down. This is how a predator would hunt for prey, because when you're still and you see this way, you very rapidly pick up motion around you. So as you open up your vision and you use this soft eye skill, take some deep breaths. Really connect with your body. Keep the eyes unfocused and open. And notice how you start to feel different. Notice how you start to feel more relaxed, but almost ready for action. It's a very different way of feeling. As if you keep breathing deeply and relaxing and using these eye skills, you'll notice you're starting to feel a little more fluid, a little less stuck. I use this skill all the time. Sometimes when I'm networking or I'm meeting with people, I do this. Now, not only do they feel like I'm very present with them, I can see the rest of the room in a very relaxed way. And it just puts me in flow. And it stops me getting stuck on individual little details. You see, when we get stuck on individual little details in life, we're attached to them, and they're attached to us like anchors. We have to develop the skill of being unattached so that we can really see the whole picture. So keep doing this. Keep breathing with it. I want you to experiment with it, in fact. Go out in your yard, go for a walk in the woods or in the city, and just spend 15 minutes walking around with these soft eyes. See what you notice. See how it changes your experience. If you want to have a really amazing experience, go out at dawn or dusk, where you can see a lot of sky. Maybe look at the mountains or look at the trees, using these really soft, relaxed eyes. Really center yourself, breathe deeply. Allow your body to dissolve away until you become attached or connected to the trees and the things around you, almost until you become just a part of the landscape. And see what you notice. See what you see. You might see some really interesting things that you may never have seen before. If you do, send me a message. Let me know what you saw. I'd be very interested to discuss that with you. But use these skills. These are fast doorways into connectedness and flow. Use it. Teach it to others. Make your life better. Come back in the next video and we'll go through a whole nother technique.